What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Daily Battle podcast. Today we are speaking with Nick Hill, real estate and mortgage expert and co-host of the Canadian Real Estate Investor podcast. We're talking home ownership, investment, housing market red flags, and everything you need to know if you want to own real estate. We ask the dumb questions so you don't have to. Enjoy the show.
Let's get it.
Welcome to the Daily Battle. Today we have my friend Nick. He is one half of the Canadian Real Estate Investor podcast. Thank you for coming on and showing us how it's done a little bit here. We might have to ask you some questions about, our podcasting. You can give us a little review at the end.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm probably about 400 episodes in front of you guys, but that's okay.
400 episodes.
We're approaching 400. Yeah, I think we're like 380 or something like that right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. We got a crash course on it pretty quickly about just how much work it is.
So funny. Over the years, so many people have come up and like, hey, I want to start a podcast. You know, a lot of people in real estate, they don't want to do the normal stuff that real estate agents and mortgage agents should be doing, which is sales at the end of the day, right? That's really what you are. Everyone wants to just create content, which is great. And, and if done with intention and done correctly, can be a really great lead source and channel for you. But there's a lot more that goes into it than just sitting down and talking shit for, 15, 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So
you learn it quickly too, like the editing and the process. So we're fine tuning that. Might have some questions for you, but why don't you first and foremost tell us a little bit about the Canadian Real Estate Investor podcast, what you guys are doing, the information flow there.
Yeah, appreciate that. So we've been doing this for about 3.5 years. We had a podcast beforehand. It was called Brick and Mortar. It was bad. It was our first attempt at it, and we kind of just were interviewing people, right? That's all it was. There was a couple other podcasts in the space at the time that were doing the same thing, just interviewing whoever would come on, and we wanted to do something different. So we kind of had a chance to rebrand and change the cadence of the show a little bit as well. So instead of bringing people on to interview, almost like out of let's say the 380 episodes, we probably had 50 guests. Okay, so the majority of the episodes are data driven, anything from the 20 real estate terms you need to know, the difference between a fixed and variable mortgage, how to build a real estate portfolio that actually cash flows. What we try to do is speak to a very wide range. So the 20-year-old kid in Saskatchewan trying to figure out what the hell is this? Like, we can speak to him, and then, a more sophisticated someone in maybe like private equity that's trying to understand or wants to hear our take on bond yields. We can talk about that kind of stuff too. So, I've been doing it for about 3.5 years. I've had a lot of different businesses throughout my life, and this is by far my favorite one. Probably changed the course of our lives. Get about $100,000 a month right now. We've been able to, have billionaires and people from Dragon's Den and really top people on there, and it's allowed us to now, we kind of say it started at URL, and now we wanted to bring it in IRL, so in real life. So I've had the luxury and the privilege to travel Canada and see basically almost every city over the last couple of years. Host events in most of them, and so that online community has really turned into a really amazing in-person community as well. It's been awesome. It's a ton of work. We do 2 episodes a week. Have never missed one. Like, we've done them sick, we've done them hungover, we've done them. Dan doesn't drink, so I've done them hungover. We've done them in New York and Rome, all over the world, and it's kind of, for us, it's like non-negotiable work. So. It's been a lot of fun.
Tremendous respect for it, just from us getting our toes wet a little bit here. And like, obviously the conversations are awesome, and that's, the fun part. You get to talk some inspiring stuff or get to know about what other people are doing, but it's what comes after in the process there. Where it's like, oh wow, there's actually a lot of different parts here in getting this thing moving. So it's, I have tremendous respect for anyone who's been able to keep it rocking like that.
I just like the product, like the fact that you're actually educating everybody on doing what you love, but also like from grassrooting, first home, renting maybe, to, like you said, Billionaires Row or investments or whatever. I think that's really cool because the pool is really big. And I think that I think real estate for us is something that nobody really understands until you buy that first house. But I feel like even in myself and my wife's scenario, like, to get to that first house seems like such a hard goal to have.
For sure it is. Like, you're not wrong. I mean, like, there's there's essentially, we all know what a paywall is. Well, there's like a lot of the stuff in real estate has been gate kept, just like the stock market, right? Like it's basic stuff if you really strip things back, but there's been very wealthy, very important people over a very long time making it more complicated so that the average person can't figure it out, right? Like that's by design a little bit. And the reason we wanted to focus mostly on the education, or at least lead with that education, is because, you're right, Ross, like there's so many different things to try to understand in real estate. I understand most of them because I've dedicated my life to doing it.
Sure.
But for the average person who's trying to buy a house or an investment property or a second house and wondering what the hell to do with capital gains, or you've got to deal with a tenant and, shit hits the fan and now you're at the landlord tenant board. Like, it's kind of twofold, because we've been sold this dream online on HGTV and selling Sunset and all that kind of stuff, where real estate's sexy, real estate's glamorous, get some tenants in your property and you'll be making money in no time. It's passive. Like there's all these things that really are just completely not true in real estate. And I think that's one of the things that we wanted to break down the barriers. We wanted to democratize the information. And then we also wanted to kind of like demystify, like real estate's not passive, at all. Like I had to spend fucking $50,000 in the last like 4 months just repairing some of my properties. And I was getting potentially sued from a tenant that, just lost it one day. And there's all these different variables out there that most people hopefully never have to deal with. But, we tried to address almost all of them on the show because, as you said, right, for you and your wife, like, how do we do this? Well, where do you even find that information? Where do you begin to start that, right? In Canada, It's so nuanced. Every province is different. Every city is different. And you said as well, right? Like, okay, if someone doesn't show great income, what does that mean for them, right? Where do you even start?
Well, and I think we're at a point now where it's like, is it even worth it at this point?
Another great question.
Like we're with just like the economic state of what we're doing, income, cost of groceries is going up, like all of our costs are going up. So I'm now sitting at home with Alicia and I'm like, is this even worth it anymore? Like, does this make the same sense that it did 5-10 years ago?
So the short answer is no.
Okay.
It does not. We look at like let's say the last 10 years, let's say pre-COVID. Okay. So like, or even 2000 to 2020, like that was one of the best bull runs in real estate ever, anywhere. Like anyone could buy a property, put a basement suite in it and sell it for hundreds of thousands of dollars more.
Sure.
Anyone could buy a property, paint it and sell it for $100,000 more. And through, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but through, all these different variables, the kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly through, over a longer period of time, things just got right out of control. And the unfortunate thing about it is that Canada's economy is so tied to real estate. Like it makes up over 25% of our economy in different ways. And then if you look at it within real estate, almost everything within real estate is inflationary as well, right? So the laborers, the materials to build the house, all those things. So we've kind of gotten out of control. Canadians are, for lack of a better word, kind of obsessed with real estate, always have been. Like if you go, like I rent. I own several investment properties, but I rent because I live in Toronto and I just don't want to buy down here. So I think you can do both. And I think going back to your original question, does it make sense? Well, I think you also have to, it's a really personal question. Like, does it make sense? Well, how long are you going to stay there for? What do you actually want to do? Like, are you living here for the rest of your life? So it's hard to answer with like a blanket statement, like, no, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make as much sense from a financial and investment return perspective, but from like I love Toronto, I'm just going to live here for the rest of my life for sure. I want to raise a family here, whatever it may be. Then it might make sense to look to buy. But the other thing that people get confused about is buying your primary residence and looking at it as an investment, right? It's not an investment. That's at the very best, it's a savings vehicle, which is great.
Sure.
But investments make money.
Right.
Your home doesn't make money. It costs you money every month. So it's actually a liability.
Right. This is where I feel like looking from the outside looking in, the generational component comes in, where it's like we look at our parents who bought real estate and became millionaires from it. And then, now those assets are inflated, but we as young people, it's like we want a family. I want to own the house that I raised my family in. To your point, it's like maybe that's an obsession, maybe that's just a common goal thing, like something to be proud about. But it's weird when over the last 2 decades or whatever, what's gone on in particularly the GTA with real estate assets, to now be like, okay, they've been up here for so long, the margin for growth is, I'm sure you can speak to that, but it's hard not to be allured by that.
Of course. Well, I mean, like, I'll use a loose example here, okay? Like, 20 years ago, you could buy a house for, let's say, $250,000. A nice house, like a really nice house, okay? Maybe even, let's say, $300,000. And most people in Canada could afford that, right? Now, that over that 20 years period, or let's say 25-year period, that same house is worth $2+ million or more. So if we're buying $2 million houses now, in 20 years, are they going to be $10 million houses? Well, I hope not, because that's just absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
Or, our currency's so fucked at that point that, maybe call it 20 million, right? But like, I don't think that growth, like, we'll never see that again, unless we keep seeing, like, this year we're probably going to trade sideways. We're probably going to drop a couple more points. I don't think we've hit the bottom yet, but I think we're probably close. And but what does that bottom look like? That bottom's never going to be back to where those prices were, where it's reasonable and where the average Canadian can afford to buy a home and then maybe buy a cottage or maybe buy an investment property or something like that. So,
can you speak to what factors led to the bull run that you're mentioning?
Yeah, a lot of different factors. So first, like, the first thing would be Canada has, for a long time, has not put enough money into building out other infrastructure. Okay, like Canadians, again, going back to this obsession with real estate, if you go to most other places in the world, outside of, Australia, the US, and maybe a few others, but if, like, most of Europe, they're not obsessed with housing. They don't give a shit about renting. Right? Like, most young people there rent and go start businesses or something like that. So we didn't have that mentality here in Canada. There was not, I mean, we're a lot of entrepreneurs in this room here, right? Do we get the love and respect we deserve for being entrepreneurs in this city or in this province, in this country? No, we don't. We get taxed like crazy. And so that's probably one of the first pieces. The other piece was, I think we're all probably familiar with what a Ponzi scheme is. Well, that, it works until it doesn't. And it works until, the music stops or the whatever, the one wrong Jenga piece is taken out. So I think it was a combination of, that obsession with real estate, people seeing the amount of money that you can make in real estate. Then, of course, there's all these other factors, like the pre-construction condo market, where, you could buy a piece of paper that said you're going to own this condo in 3 years and you're going to pay, let's say, $200,000 for this condo. By the time it's done, it's going to be worth $350,000. Well, why the hell wouldn't I do that? I make 150 grand by, paying deposits for a couple of years. It sounds like a no-brainer. But with every good thing, people start to abuse it. Okay, so that pre-construction market fueled a ridiculous boom. Tons of people made an insane amount of money, but then the music stopped there, but people kept on dancing. And now there's this massive assignment sale market where, again, you buy, people would go and buy 20 or 30 of these units, okay, with no intention of closing whatsoever. You bought 20, 30 pieces of paper that you're going to go try and make a couple $100,000 on. In theory, sounds great. And in theory and in reality, it worked for a long time for some people. With the rise of interest rates, the rise of immigration, and the inflation, kind of really COVID kind of exacerbated and sped all those problems that were eventually going to come to fruition. It really sped those up. And now the condo market is like an international known disaster here, right? We've seen dozens and dozens of developers go under completely. We've seen hundreds of projects either shelved or just indefinitely canceled. So it exacerbates the problem. And then, of course, like the real stuff outside of all, the individuals contributing to how messed up things got. We had the government and the Bank of Canada, raise interest rates extremely fast, which put a lot of those people in really bad states, and then lower them fast as well. So it's not one thing. It was 10, 15, 20 different things. So I can keep going there, but that's a whole podcast in itself.
No, that's great. And the information is, yeah, it's great to have the information. I think the question that I'd have from you from there is like, where do we go from here?
Oh, fuck. Oh, I don't know. Interest rates are in like a traditionally, historically, a reasonable spot right now. I mean, if we look back, most of our parents would probably remember interest rates in like the high double digits, right? 12 to 18% at some points. Housing prices were a lot more affordable back then. So where do we go from here? I mean, fuck, man, I couldn't have predicted any of the, I mean, Dana and I have, you read and cover this stuff enough. You make some predictions and we're right about some stuff, but, I can't, without getting political, like, look what's happening in the world right now. Right?
Yeah.
Like, are we on the verge of World War III? Like, are we, like Canada plays such a small role and we're so attached to some bigger players in the world that are doing some crazy things right now that it's hard to figure out where housing is going to go. And also, let's be clear, housing is, yes, it's an issue across the country, but housing is really a seriously bad issue in Ontario and in Southern Ontario and the GTA and in Vancouver, mildly in Calgary. But you talk to someone in Newfoundland or Saskatoon or Winnipeg, yeah, they're going to be like, yeah, things are pricier. And, there's been a lot of immigration that's come in and, maybe rents are a little high. But it's not nearly as ridiculous as it is here, right?
It's in the Meccas, yeah.
It's different. It's such different markets. It's hard to paint Canada with one broad stroke. So I think, where do we go from here? I don't even know if I have a good answer for that. I think what I see happening is I think this year is going to be another really slow year for the average person. I think it's going to be. I mean, there's all these studies. I mean, M&P just came out with a study basically saying, buckle up. It's not going to be a good year. That's like a major kind of accounting and professional services firm that puts out a lot of data. And they basically said Canadians get ready to like have a lower standard of living. So I think that 2020, everyone in real estate was like, survive 2025. That was kind of the saying. Okay, well, 2025 is over and we're still in the shit and it's not getting better anytime soon. So 2026 is going to be tough. I think 2027 will be better. 28 will be better. 29 will probably be getting a lot better, and then we'll start doing all the same stupid shit and the cycle will happen all over again.
Gotta love it.
It's just crazy to see all the vacant land that is proposed to be built into a condo.
Yeah, so I'm happy you brought that up because that's something I should have mentioned when you're asking them, what were the problems? Like, how did we get here? And that is also an absolutely major downfall of Canada is zoning, timelines, red tape. Like it is. So this is kind of funny. So we have the second slowest permitting process in the world, only slower to the Slovak Republic.
Come on.
I swear to God.
Why do they make it so hard? Business in general here. Why do they make it so hard?
I mean, again, and this is a bigger question, but so we did an episode on Canada should be the richest country in the world. And we've got more fresh water. We've got more trees. We've got an insane amount of gold. We've got an insane amount of potash, uranium, silver, oil, right? We've got all of this stuff. Like, why don't we have
natural gas away in Calgary for free?
Why don't we have a sovereign wealth fund? Why don't we have something like that? And it's just, capitalism isn't either understood or respected enough in this country to make those kind of moves. And it's almost flip the side of the coin, and it's almost like they want to stop it, right? I mean, so one of the things I'm working on a lot right now is a housing typology called the missing middle. Okay, you're walking on Trinity Bow is where we're filming this right now, and you'll see a bunch of old Victorians or houses 100 years old, 50 years old, whatever, and then one in the middle of the block there'll be a 4-story building going up, right? It still looks like a home. You guys have all seen these.
Yep.
So that's called missing middle, right? It's called missing middle or multiplexing, and that's what most of Europe looks like, right? You go around any major European city and we see, okay, most of the buildings are 3, 4, 5, 6 stories. They have very little skyscrapers, whereas here we've got a bunch of skyscrapers and then single family homes as far as the eye can see. So to change that, we need zoning and permitting. And man, City Hall is too busy starting every meeting with 15 minutes of land acknowledgements to get a fucking permit through. Like, it's crazy. And then, so I had a meeting this morning with a guy who's trying to do a 10-unit building over on the east, over on like Queen East. Beautiful building, would be great for the neighborhood, little coffee shop on the bottom. And he has paid $600,000 so far in fees and studies. And I'm talking like tree studies. Okay, there's a tree in the property. We got to do a tree study. Okay, we got to do a water study because where's the water runoff going to go? We've got to do an environmental, an ESA study. We've got to do a park study. Okay, is this going to take away from parkland? Like it's
question for you.
insane.
Is this incompetence or is this by design?
Both. It is by design. And okay, has anyone ever tried to call like Best Buy or Home Depot or any of those something happens to one of your products, and I'm only throwing Home Depot under the bus because I had some appliances that I bought and I was trying to return one of them because it showed up damaged, and it was the most impressive anti-customer service I'd ever fucking seen in my life. I was sent to this person who couldn't help me, sent to that person who couldn't help me, sent to this person who couldn't help me, re-looped back up to that person who was like, okay, I'll send you to someone else. And it was like literally 2 days on the phone. I just ended up keeping the dishwasher and getting another one. It was insane.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's the same thing with some of these people at City Hall. I mean, there's some really great people trying to push some stuff through. And there's some really good people getting projects done. But if we're in this blatantly obvious housing crisis and there's, all this land that we can do stuff with, then why aren't we doing it? And we go and look and it's like, okay, well, it's ridiculously expensive. And it takes a ridiculously long time. And there's all these barriers to entries for it. So
inconvenience is a good deterrent.
Well said. Yeah.
Do you think we could move, like, it seems like instead of going vertical, another solution could be to push everything north?
So
like we have all
urban
this
sprawl.
land,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So that's where that's the problem with Vancouver, actually, right? So Vancouver, you're surrounded by mountains and ocean.
Sure.
Right. So like you physically, unless you're going to go more by like out to like Burnaby and Richmond and Delta, that kind of stuff, which essentially just gets a little less desirable because you're not close to the mountains and the ocean. That's why Vancouver's so expensive.
Sure.
Toronto, yeah, I mean, we can urban sprawl, but like we have urban sprawled like crazy, right? Like, basically the GTA goes from, where we are now, like down to like call it the CN Tower, all the way up to like Newmarket.
Sure.
And then all the way over to
Even farther, Bradford.
like
and
Brad.
Keswick,
Yeah, I mean, like literally, like you can just keep drawing these circles, but then it's just like, okay, we can do that, but then what are people doing? Are people working from home because we can't get in the fucking city?
Traffic infrastructure is a
Like
huge problem.
like go look at there was this I saw this video where it was like Chinese company builds bridge overnight. Chinese company builds new highway in a week.
Olympic Stadium in a week.
Yeah, and we can't. The LRT, the Eglinton LRT. So I used to live at Yonge and Eglinton.
Oh my God.
Man, like I went after university. I'm 36 years old. After university, I went to college and took construction engineering management, and we did a project. This has got to be like 15 years ago. Okay, we did a project back then on the LRT, and like, okay, it's supposed to be done in a couple of years. This is exciting. Yeah. And it's still not done, okay? Yeah. And it's like, and it's barely operational. And there was some guy that ran beside it, like a jogger that ran beside it and beat the LRT by like minutes. So it's just like, okay, yes, we could do urban sprawl, but then what the hell are people going to do?
Like, would it even be possible? And this is just figurative, obviously, because this is where my brain goes, is like, we have Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary. Like in my head, I'm like, can we build another city north of us?
So funny, man. We literally did a full episode on that as well. There's a really cool story. There's this billionaire, getting a lot of controversy now, and of course a couple other billionaires involved who are trying to do that in San Francisco.
Okay.
In California, because San Francisco and Palo Alto are crazy expensive, obviously, right? Yeah. And similar bullshit here, right? It's just like permits are expensive, everything's expensive. It doesn't make sense. Like you're getting, like you look at a $3 million home in Toronto and you're just kind of like, why?
Yeah.
Like, you know what $3 million could get you in Spain or Italy
anywhere,
or Bali
Utah?
or Utah? Like, you want a fucking ranch?
Yeah.
Like, go do it. Like
a sick
like,
ranch.
Yeah, you
Dude,
want a sick
Montana?
ranch? Like, yeah, like go get some acreage, okay?
Yeah.
So this guy he essentially went and like kind of secretly bought all the land and was basically trying to build a new, I can't remember the name of this city, but you can go look it up, and it's a cool story. Anyways, he got a bunch of flack for it, but his idea was like, yeah, we need to build a new city in California because the cities in California are too expensive. Well, Canada has an insane amount of land. Why don't we just go build a new city?
That's what I've always thought.
Right? But then again, okay, where? And the biggest thing about cities in Canada is, what are the pull factors? What is the infrastructure there? What are people actually going to do?
Yeah. How do you get culture there?
How do you get culture there? I mean, like, Canada struggles with culture already, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, having seen most of the small mid-tier cities, I mean, like, you go to Saskatoon, like, you may as well be in Kingston, right? You go to Manitoba or Winnipeg, sorry, you know, you may as well be in North York. Like, they're not big, and you know, they're great in a lot of cases, but there's not a lot of Canadians, and really there's not a lot of like we complain about the opportunity here. Imagine going to, you know, like New Brunswick.
Well, to your
right?
point, it's like, what do you do?
What do you do? What are you doing there? Especially as, you know, what we see a lot of people do is this kind of flight to affordability, right? So that's why, there's a couple cool indexes, right? Like, so the crane index, where there's most active cranes, but an index I always like to follow is the U-Haul index. And that basically tells you where most of U-Hauls are being rented and then dropped off. So it shows you where, like, moving patterns. So Calgary's been the number one on there for the last couple of years.
Moving to Calgary.
Okay. And Ontario has been the biggest loser of people moving to Calgary. Now, the other unfortunate thing, which we can get to, is a lot of Canadians are just leaving the country in general. Sure. But a lot of the Canadians are in Vancouver and Toronto are leaving to go and buy a house, right? Go and try to start a family. And I think, again, that for a bigger thing, that exacerbates the whole point of, okay, well, you know, like, we're all in our 30s here. We would all have multiple kids if this was 20, 30 years ago.
Sure.
And not just even using us as an example, you know, probably most of our friends, and that's, I think, had an actual impact and been caused by the fact that everything's so damn expensive. And I can't, you know, I live in a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom condo, whatever. I can't raise a kid in here or 2 kids. So going back to the flight to affordability, though, yeah, like you go to Calgary, okay, great, there's infrastructure there, but for people that's too expensive, you know, where do you go? What do you do while you're there? There's not enough infrastructure or like jobs or opportunities or sectors that, you know, a young person's going to be like, I'm really excited to go to Saskatoon and build my life there. Now, sure. I don't want to shit on Saskatoon. It's a great spot, but, you know, what are the real pull factors?
Well, and comparatively speaking too, right? Like, if this is your quality of life here, are you moving laterally there, or is it down? Yeah. And it's not necessarily quality of life. It's even just like, how am I entertained in my day?
There you go. And like, coming from a major city like Toronto, let's say, like concerts, dinners, all the amazing things that are part of metropolis living. Yeah. It's like, are you the shock of like, okay, now I'm waking up in Saskatoon because I can afford a house here and can raise a family.
Great, I got my house. Guess I'm chilling in it. like that's it.
Monday morning comes around, you know, and then it's like, you know, what are you doing? What are you doing on the weekends for entertainment? And I feel like there's a lot of people that are in that position where, you know, maybe you have your living situation figured out in a city, you're ready to take the next step into maybe a family or whatever, and you're completely disillusioned on, do I buy this overinflated asset in a city where the quality of life, especially in Canada, is declining quickly by a lot of metrics. You know, what is the right thing to do? And the golden handcuffs, man,
it's tough, man. I mean, look, 1 in 4 Canadians, live essentially off the 401. Okay, 1 in 4 Canadians basically live between, like, the corridor between Cornwall, like, which is, you know, called Quebec, the Quebec border, and Windsor, Sarnia area. Wow. 1 in 4. So, like, going anywhere else it's gonna be harder, right? This is where all the, and I say infrastructure, there's not really any, like, there's not even a train that goes back and forth, right?
Well, we even talk about, like, the 400, like, that's a nightmare. Because it's the only one that goes north.
I know, it's horrible.
You know what I mean? And so I think what's interesting, though, is going back to what you were saying, is that we're sold this dream where, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, like, I think Canada is one of the only countries that real estate's our number 1 commodity. But I was always told by my parents, I mean, I'm 35, like, you know what, when you get older, you're going to buy a house, you're going to have a family. Yep. And so like when you're told that at a very young age, that like I remember hearing about home ownership when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, because it's like part of these conversations that being an only child, adults are having. Yep. Oh, you know, where did you buy your house, or how did you do this? And I remember when my parents moved from Toronto to Oakville was very small. Yep. You know what I mean? And now it's become this massive place where north of Dundas has subdivisions that never existed when I was a kid. And so what's interesting is that like I'm finding it hard to scrub that mind frame. And I don't know, like it's one of those things where I don't feel guilty scrubbing it, but it's like, am I making the right choice not risking everything to buy this house?
It's such a tough call, man. I mean, I think it always comes down to who you are, what you're trying to do, right? Like, what are you and your wife, you and your partner, you and your husband? What are you guys trying to do? What's important to you? The unfortunate thing about Canada and Ontario is that there's this weird stat where people in the States move like way more often than Canadians. Like Canadians don't move around. We don't move around the country.
Sure.
Like I was born in Vancouver, and I've moved back twice. Most people don't, you know, like your family moved, you know, from Toronto to Oakville. Okay, that's like 40 minutes. You know, you're not moving to Manitoba and then to Halifax and then back and whatever. Whereas people in the States move all over the place because there's so many more cities and opportunities.
Their country's full.
Exactly. Whereas like we don't have those options. Now, again, going back to how other countries and other people look at housing, it's just different. We've just got this kind of like, and again, like I've essentially dedicated my life to it. So like I love it. I love it for a lot of different reasons. I love the built environment. I love, you know, architecture and all this kind of stuff as well. But you know, we have kind of ruined real estate in some capacity. And looking at the boomers, right, like all of our parents' generation, who own most of the real estate, and when I say own, I don't mean just like they live in it, but they actually own it almost outright without a mortgage. So what is going to happen? Like, I think we're at this weird kind of like holding pattern where none of the boomers want anything to change because that's my money.
Well,
right?
they're
like,
safe, right?
They're safe. Like that's all my money, right? That's why we have another liberal government. We're not going to get political, but that's one of the reasons. And
stability.
Yeah, and you know, we can't. They can't have anything change because that's their nest eggs. Okay, so what happened? You know, like 25% of the population right now is plus 65. Okay, so what happens in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
So I was going to ask you that. Like, we're looking at the biggest transference of wealth in history.
But it's not going to be a transference of wealth. It's going to be transference of space. It's all going to be transferred through real estate. Like, I'm not getting gold bars when my parents die. I'm getting their houses.
Sure.
Right? Like, that's what we're all going to get.
And then our generation is
and then we decide what we're going to do with that, I
guess so. So, like, that's where it kind of becomes interesting. That's why I think we're in this kind of weird spot right now, time-wise, where... You know, I saw this thing the other day. It's like this is like the middle child of Earth or whatever. It's like it was like too young to explore space, but too old to do something. And I think we're kind of in that here in Canada as well. It's like, yeah, we're, you know, the boomers are all still holding on to their assets, and I don't blame them. I'd be doing the same thing if I were them. Young people are completely depressed about never, and like I'm seeing younger than us, right? Like people in their 20s are just like, yeah.
I can't even imagine. I don't even know how they're gonna. How are they gonna even stay above the clouds financially? I don't
I mean, most of them aren't, right? I mean, like employment's not great. I mean, like the job market's not great. Like you know, the ripple effect of this stuff is.
And this is where not to get political, but this is where the
I love how we say not to get political and say something
it's where the socialist
time.
thing gets scary though, because imagine you're a young person, real estate's already unattainable for them. Like that's not even, I think, in the realm of outcomes. It's just like, how do I survive? How do I get employment?
But then, mentally, do you think they're there? Like, do you think they think? I'd be interested to hear the Gen Z perspective on owning a house versus ours.
I have no idea.
Like, were they educated in the same way that we were, that it's the best commodity to have ever?
I don't have a solid answer, but from what I've seen on, like, you know, because we'll scrape like Reddit and TikTok and Instagram for kind of like a sentiment. Actually, I'm working on this really cool thing right now called is everyone familiar with the Fear and Greed Index? So it's like a thing on CNN. It's basically just like a ticker. and it just kind of gauges. It's mostly stock market stuff, right? So, when things are really good, it's extreme greed. When things are really bad, it's extreme fear. So I'm a friend of mine and I are kind of proprietarily building this fear and greed housing index for Canada. So we
great.
scrape all this data from everything from like StatsCan to immigration to Equifax numbers, mortgage delinquencies, and then we'll go and scrape social media as well to kind of really gauge sentiment, because that's really what drives the economy is sentiment, right? Yes, it's numbers, but it's really just people making decisions on whether they want to spend money or not, right? And I think that I guess Gen Z, like the younger generation, I from what I can tell, they've basically just like, it's not even on their radar, because
Interesting.
they fucking can't. I mean, if we can barely do it, and by I say barely, I mean like, yes, like, things are much worse here than they are in other places across the country. But if you're like 20 years old and trying to figure out a job, and there might be the introduction of UBI in a couple of years because AI is moving insanely fast, and like, am I even thinking about getting a house right now? Probably not. I'm probably gaming in my parents' basement or some shit.
Yeah, well, this is an education, man. I saw something. I don't hold me to these numbers, but traditional educations are declining by like 4 to 5% per year.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
People enrolling for university and college declining by 4 to 5% per year.
Well, I'll tell you this. I've learned more about real estate in this conversation just from like a statistical analysis, basic information than I've learned in my whole life. And that's
How is that? That's not fair. Like, that should not be the case.
Well, it's the same thing with financial literacy.
dude, and I'm
It's like-
on realtor.com to like find out. We found a house that we thought was really cool. We have a down payment ready to go, and it's like, okay, now what? And it's like, we don't even know the steps to start. Like, you talk to your bank, talk to your mortgage broker, and it sold in, however many days. And we're just like, man, like, it's such a fucking hassle.
Yeah.
So you know what? Let's get practical here. Someone or, a couple are out there, $250K in the bank, down payment on a reasonable property, let's say in the GTA. What's your advice as it relates to Canadian real estate right now?
To just go and purchase? Like, what's that sequence
Well,
of events to purchase?
would you go condo house, or like, how would you do it?
Or markets?
Yeah. So personally, the way I've always looked at it is, until you are like I'm a single guy. Okay. So until you're ready to settle down or you really want a house, I'm a huge proponent of renting.
Okay.
Like I've rented most of my places in Toronto, but I own a bunch of real estate that makes me money.
Sure.
So it's really what perspective you want to bring to the table. Do you want real estate to be a savings vehicle? Do you want it to be an investment? And if you're going to make it an investment, treat it like a business. So that's one path. Okay. Like, it's like, if you're going to invest, actually look at investing, not just buying a property.
Are those opportunities out there to have cash flowing properties at this point in Ontario? Yeah.
Ontario, yes. Even Toronto. I mean, like, I know people that are doing very well in Toronto. In Ontario, get ready to hit one of our favorite highways for a couple hours to go find. It's basically, it's drive till you qualify at this point.
Okay.
So, when for me, for instance, I'm a great example. I'm happy to share a little bit of my story. So years ago when I started investing, of course, spending most of my life in Toronto at this point, I'm like, yeah, let's try to find something around here. Okay, well, cap rates, which is a measurement of return in real estate, is essentially just a quick formula. Your NOI, which is your net operating income, divided by the value of the property, spits out a percentage. Let's say 5%, that's not great. You want over 5%, but Toronto, you're getting between like 3 and 5%. Now you start driving, you hit Peterborough, maybe you're getting 6%. You drive even further, you go North Bay or Sudbury, any of those kind of markets, you can get still 6, 7, 8%.
But then you're managing a property and
well, I mean, and look, I've done it. I've done it for years, and it's, again, like, that's why it has to be treated as a business, because you don't want to be getting the call from some tenant in Sudbury in the middle of winter in Toronto and have to go up and deal with something. So, you build out teams and people that they can go deal with that kind of stuff up there, just like you would in any business, right? Like this podcast is getting edited by an editor and someone's operating the cameras, right? We're not doing all those things because you guys are treating it like a business. So So that's one way to do it. If you are literally just looking to get a property, I think that's great. You know, like I think everyone should, if you want, you should try to do that. The simplest way to do that, it always starts with finance. Everything does. Okay, so obviously being a mortgage broker, now I do commercial mortgage brokering, but I did residential stuff for years. I think that's the best place to start. I always recommend people work with a broker over a bank because, first of all, you don't pay your broker; they get paid by the lender. So let's say you come to me for a mortgage, I help you get it TD, and it goes to TD or RBC. They would pay me, not you. So it costs you absolutely nothing, and you essentially have someone doing all the work for you, all the due diligence, and going and trying to find the best rate and product. So find a good mortgage broker. They're not hard to find. Actually, good ones are hard to find. Mortgage brokers aren't hard to find. You're gonna want to engage a realtor, but you have to know what your purchasing power is before getting out there, because you could be like, oh, I really like this house, and be like, okay, well, you can't fucking afford it even remotely close. So go out with some actual numbers, and really, yeah, you just, I mean, the simplest thing to buy a property, you need a mortgage broker or a bank, a real estate agent, and a lawyer.
If you had the down payment on a property right now, beginning of 2026, you could either put your money into the markets, say like financial advisor or something of that nature, or put it as a down payment on a property in the GTA. What decision would you make?
I might be the wrong guy to ask that question, because I have lost a lot of money in the stock market, actually. Just doing stupid shit like crypto or mining stocks or whatever. I like real estate, and I think most people, I think the attraction to real estate is the familiarity with it, the understanding that I can go and physically touch it. I can see I own that, right? Whereas like if you own Google stock or an ETF, like, yeah, you can pull it up on your phone, but like,
it's a number on a screen.
It's a number on a screen, right? Like there's a tangibility aspect to real estate that I think is why so many people are so attracted to it. I know that's one of the reasons I'm attracted to it. I can, and the other thing is, you can, whether you're investing or whether you're looking at it an investment or not, you can actually go in and physically change that property.
For sure, yeah.
You can make it bigger, you can make it nicer, you can put a driveway, a garage, lawn, whatever it is. Whereas I can't change my Google stock or my ETF. So I think there's that control aspect that people like as well. So I would probably, I think now is, and I have almost never said this before, I think now is probably one of the better times in the history of Toronto to buy a condo. Going back to what I said about all these projects being shelved. So we had a ton of condo completions this year. But what's going to happen is all those condos that got taken off the market that were supposed to be, coming to the market a year, 2, 3, 4 years from now. Well, we just kicked that, proverbial can even further down the road, and we're going to be dealing with the same condo and housing crisis. I can like see it in the future. Like it's blatantly there. It's a numbers game at this point, right?
Because
like,
we're still waiting.
We're just gonna, and condos, you can't just put a condo up. Okay, condos take like 3-4 years from like approvals to move in. So I think that gap in the market is going to make a resale or an existing condo a much more valuable asset until the condo market gets back up. I know the condo market is flooded with units right now. My one thing about the Toronto condo market is there is an unbelievable amount of shitty units out there.
Oh man.
Why are the condo fees so high too?
Another great question. So I'm going to try not to like shit on any developer or any specific neighborhood.
Sure.
But okay, if you notice, for instance, most Toronto condos kind of look the same-ish, right? Glass rectangles.
Big pillars of concrete.
Big pillars of concrete with cladding and glass, and the glass
Gray
is either
laminate flooring.
Yeah, well that's even inside. I'm talking outside too, right? Outside is like, okay, green glass, blue glass, couple different shades.
It's the same.
Maybe put a light up there if you're lucky, right? We had Frank Gehry come in, one of the best architects to ever live, and rip, he just passed away. So rest in peace to Frank Gehry. He came and was going to do that crazy project here, and basically through City Hall and appeals and all this shit, they stripped away what could have been an incredible looking building. So the buildings were built as fast as possible and as cheap as possible. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but it was probably I don't know, 7 to 10 years ago, there was glass falling out of buildings.
So you can't shit
Yonge
on
Street.
There was glass literally falling
yeah.
out of buildings. Like
Yeah.
that can't be happening. And that's because that was cheap Chinese glass that came over. They were like just firing it in. So again, it all comes back to capitalism. It all comes back to where's the money. Okay, so these developers would get their stuff. They would try to put it up as fast as possible. They would assign, or so many people would buy in the pre-construction. And you could do it as fast as possible. That's also why we've started to see the units become smaller and smaller and smaller. Because if you sold more and you could squeeze 3 more units in on that same floor and take away square footage from people, well, it didn't matter. You were not selling the condos to have people live in them. It was, it was like the kind of New York idea where it's like, oh, young people are going to live here. They're going to come, sleep here, and then they'll be out the whole time. Well,
Flip 'em, yeah.
well, that doesn't really work here because we're not New York and we never will be. We're about 100 years behind New York. Toronto's New York, basically in like 1930s New York.
Well,
So,
that was
like-
what I was going to say too. When you're talking about people in the States being able to move so easily, and we're like, we were talking about what our mecca of Canada is, whether it's Vancouver or Toronto, and I'm thinking, when we were having that conversation, it was like, man, as soon as I was 18 or 19 and I could get to New York alone, and I went there, and I'm lucky enough to be there a couple times a year, you're like, holy shit, this is a city.
Oh man,
You
yeah.
very quickly realize when people are like, "Yo, Toronto's like the New York." I'm like,
But you
go to New York.
Yeah, it's
You
like
go in those
it's
you go
like-
in those buildings though, and it's like the real estate and the way that it has developed there is completely different. Like
Yeah.
you stay those old creaky buildings. There's no elevator.
Yeah.
Big huge rooms.
Yeah.
1 bathroom, 3 bedroom, that kind of thing.
dude,
But
even when we were in Buffalo, like it was like, and Buffalo has changed obviously in the last 10 years for the better.
weird though.
But man, we were there and we're like, it's like they stretched out a suburb of Toronto on landscape mode.
Yeah.
like they occupy space
It's
that's
so liminal.
meant to be occupied. Like
Yeah.
nothing's condensed, nothing's small. And so I think what discourages me here again, going into the condo thought, is like, you're saying that they're saving square feet to build another unit, but what was once 150, 250 bucks as a condo fee, we're now looking at, and it's like 800 to 1,000 plus. And I'm like, what? Like, how
So-
can we afford a mortgage and that?
So first of all, the condo fees, I've seen condo fees kill more mortgage deals than anything else. Okay, because you start adding up, and there's this is kind of irrelevant, but GDS and TDS, so total debt service and gross debt service, that's a mortgage calculation, which basically means how much you can afford. So your income has to, service a certain amount of debt.
Sure.
Okay, we can get it there. Okay, yeah, you can afford this. Oh wait, but there's an $800 a month or $1,200 a month condo fee. Now, the worst part about those condo fees is they're never going to get cheaper. Okay, they're always just going to keep going up, and they're going to get more and more expensive as the buildings get older and in more and more disrepair. And those buildings are managed by condo boards that are essentially just civilians that live in the building. Okay, there's not like like some of them have property managers and stuff, but there's no. Like, it's not like they develop that, and that's why a purpose-built rental building in a lot of cases is better than a condo building, because you can go buy an amazing condo building, have that really great unit, but if some idiot 6 floors up floods his place a couple times, or someone fucks with the elevator, or the roof needs repair, well, that's coming out of everyone's pocket, and that actually is like, that'll push more people away from ever wanting to invest in that building. Like when I was looking for a new spot in Toronto, you go on Reddit and it's like, avoid this building.
Yeah.
Avoid this building.
Well,
at
man,
all
some of them-
costs.
some of the-
imagine owning a place in that building and going on and being like,
True.
avoid this building. Like, I'm fucked.
Okay, but there are a couple.
There's several
But
that you should
where
avoid,
it's like I've seen videos of people turning their tap on and it's brown water like coming out.
Yeah.
And it's like this is the to your point, the
Or the parking garage underwater or something like that.
Quality of
There's a
build.
whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. It's
now here's the thing I want to say about that, because I think you said it. You're like, part of the reason that people are so enamored by the idea of owning real estate, to me, it's like there's an ancestral thing about like curating land or something about that. You know what I mean? Like we're like, as a family, you want to covet land. Like it's in, I feel like, our DNA to want to do that. And that's why for me, I'm like, okay, there's an opportunity right now to buy condos because there's a lot of them on the market, which, you know, maybe there's a less barrier to entry there financially or otherwise. But it's like I got to enter an elevator with other people, with their dogs, with whatever. I'm getting up and I don't control who I'm living around. Not that you do at a property, but you got some distance there at least. And then you're like in a box surrounded by a bunch of...
And you forget something, or you got to do 2 trips for the grocery run. Like I remember literally like my fingers almost falling off because I'm living on the 21st floor. I'm like, I'm not fucking coming back down.
And you're not taking
I'm not
the
coming.
stairs.
That's a half an hour trip coming back down to get this, you know?
Yeah. So for me, it's like if I'm gonna own something, I'd love to at least have a piece of property on the earth. You know what I mean?
Even a semi-detached or something like that. I think that's what we were looking at. And I think that like the sacrifice, and you're probably the right guy to ask here, is like you look at a more expensive property, but you're paying that mortgage payment that's more expensive. It's almost equivalent to the mortgage at the condo plus the condo fee.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Yep. So it's like, well, I might as well go to the semi.
I'm paying another $1,000 a month. That may as well actually go to. So mortgages are broken up into 2 different pieces. Okay, like you pay a lump sum every month. Say you pay $2,000 every month.
Sure.
Within that $2,000, it's allocated to principal and interest. Principal is what you actually owe or own, in the house, right? Like the more principal you pay off, the more of the home you own.
Yeah.
Interest is just,
that's the
jerking the bank off.
Debt
Right?
servicing.
Like, exactly. So and when it starts, like it's like 90-10, right? Like and it's drawn out over what's called an amortization schedule, which you can kind of see when
usually it's 20-25 years, right?
20 to 25 years. We have 30-year now mortgages for some first-time home buyers, and then in my space on the commercial side of things through CMHC, the Canadian Home and Mortgage Corporation, they have 50-year mortgages there now. That's only for a certain kind of housing typology through a very specific program. But yeah, I mean, and look, that's great, and it nominally helps things, but it's just, again, it's not really fixing the issue. It's just one more Band-Aid solution. It's just like, okay, we'll just pay it back longer. Like that,
but it almost seems like you're renting at that point because
you are.
50
you're basically
years,
renting
right?
from the bank.
Yeah. So here's a question for you because you're involved in commercial.
Yeah.
So would you ever suggest, because myself, Connor, and Chris are obviously in business together doing this. They have their marketing firm. I have my sales agency. Our dream is in the next year or so to have our own office.
Love it.
Instead of taking a down payment for a house that my wife and I were going to work on, does it make sense to team up sort of as this Avengers type and buy a commercial space between the 3 of us, all, 35, 35, 35 or whatever that makeup is, and somehow figure out a way that there's other units that are helping pay that? Like, does that make sense, or is that just a pipe dream?
Does your wife listen to the show, and is she going to be mad if I spend your money on a
shit,
property and you don't get the house?
No. And that's the one thing is both of our wives are everything good. The good parts of us that we're not.
Okay,
so
perfect.
She's very understanding.
And I have no problem renting where I live at all.
Sure.
My money in the markets, it's obviously there's been some variance over the last however many years, but like I'm someone who I don't touch it. It goes, I have a guy who does it. Yeah. It's done very well. Yeah. And that's where for me, like I'm terrified to take my money out and miss another great year and so forth. But sorry, continue on. So
to preface again, like, does it make sense that me, Connor, Chris, or me, Connor, it's like, hey, we now want this office. This is what we dream of it looking like. There's this spot here and there's 2 extra units. Yeah. Maybe it's a $3 million place or a $4 million place. Does that make sense?
I think that makes a ton of sense. I think that there's also a lot of really good programs out there for owner-occupied businesses.
Okay.
So, for instance, like one of the deals I'm working on right now is a 50,000 square foot industrial logistics like warehouse in Edmonton. Okay. We're able to get some pretty good financing because one of the guys that's buying it owns a trunking company. He's going to take like 30% of the space. I think from a business perspective as well, investing in commercial, it's a bit more of a barrier to entry for a lot of people because it comes with a lot of different nuances. It's a lot less understood than just buying a house or a duplex kind of thing. But if that's somewhere where you guys are going to run multiple businesses out of, have a creator space, and there's still opportunity, and you're all making money doing it there, and there's still an opportunity to kind of backfill some money with other spaces. Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense.
Because I'm just looking, is that going to be the next version of what our parents did? Right. I think I'm trying to find that, like, I'm well aware that the house that I buy here is not going to appreciate by what my parents' house appreciated across 30 years.
And if it does, we're in big trouble.
Sure.
Is there, what's the benefits too between buying through a business versus buying through personal?
Buying through, it depends on what you're buying.
Like say we were to come together.
So buying through a corporation and where to run your business. Again, there's certain financing products. You can go to like a BDC, which is the Business Development Bank of Canada, and like there is incentives for that kind of behavior. I also, to your point, Ross, I think that might be one of those next things that like most people aren't seeing right now, right? A lot of people, everyone understands what a house looks like in a duplex, and we can all, at least most people think they can manage, tenants because they're just other people, which is, again, that's a whole other story. But everything changes when it's B2B. Right? Anyone in a sales role knows the difference between selling B2C, like business to customer, versus B2B. So in a lot of ways, it is easier, is just a lot less understood. And there's usually, of course, a lot less opportunities. Warehouses are more expensive, or, distribution facilities are more expensive, whatever, than a house or a condo in a lot of cases.
Because I saw there's a spot down the street that was up, and everybody was talking how expensive it was. And it's, I think it's right on Niagara, or right on Tecumseh.
Oh, I think I know the one you're talking
about. And it's it looks like a garage, but I think it was actually, there was extensions fabricated with, what are they called? Like the train, like small homes are made out of them. What are they called? Like freight containers?
Prefab stuff? Or shipping containers.
Yeah, like there's shipping container extensions on it, and it makes like a big C. And so I found out what the value was on it. I can't remember what it was, but it was like 2.8 or 2.6. And yeah, it's not a big building, but I'm like, man, is that just because of where it is that the next thing? Like, what if we put 3 floors on that over time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I look at things like that and I'm like, there's so much potential there. But I think one of the things that goes through my head, and it might be the same as you, is that, like, if it works, it's this golden nugget. But if it doesn't, you're just another idiot that had a dream. And that's very different when it's in sport. That's very different when it's in career, because there's always like, I can keep working, I can do this. But like, I feel like real estate is also one of the things that I've seen people lose their lives over it. You know what I mean? You see all these people, and like we were talking about with the condos, they buy this pre-build assuming the interest rate is going to be X. And then 5 years later, it's Y, and they can't afford it, so they lose it, and they get rinsed on the purchase.
And like, there have been some epic rinsings in the last couple of years. Like, I'm talking like people, especially in like peak COVID stuff, where people were, it's like insane bidding wars, and people are paying $1.2 million for a house that's blatantly worth like $600K in like Oshawa.
It was almost us. Me and my wife, we were looking. I probably looked at 15 houses, I would say. Sorry to my real estate agent. And every single, thank God in retrospect, but every single one, we were priced out of what we were looking at in like a matter of like weeks.
Yeah,
like it was crazy. It was like, this is bonkers. So, and I'm thankful for it.
Yeah. I mean, look, so I was just gonna say, with a bidding war, let's say, I always say that with a bidding war, there's usually one loser and everyone else is the winner. Because if you bid out all those people, did you really win? Man, you got the house, but did you really win? Because you definitely overpaid for it.
What was going on in the Muskokas, like in Cottage, it was unbelievable.
Bancroft was being called Bankcroft for a while, because it's like,
we're on Lake. I have a cottage on Lake Muskoka, and some of the properties that you would see and the prices that they were selling for was unbelievable. Yeah. And those same properties many of them are hitting the market now for a fraction of the price. It's crazy.
So what happens in that case? So like, now so let's say you bought this condo for $350,000. You thinking when you get it, you're not even going to live in it. You're just going to flip it and sell it. So you get approved, it gets built, market swings the way it is. You want to sell it, and now you're getting asked at 200. You're getting rinsed at that. Like
I mean, for lack of a better word, you get fucked in one way or another. Like
So that's it.
That's it. Like, I mean, there's people out there declaring bankruptcy. There's people out there borrowing money from family. There's people out there in like really like essentially loan shark style loans. You know, you may as well go to the mafia at this point. You're paying, 9-12%.
Maybe losing
if
your
not
legs.
if not more. There's people getting sued. There's a lot of power of sale deals going where the bank's kind of repossessed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not pretty. Like
Well, and I
it's
think
tough.
that's
Like,
another deterrent, right? Of like, do I want to do this? And so it's funny because like the commercial side has always been really sexy to me because I'm like, I kind of like the ability to be nomadic, and if we move out and it's, wherever it might be, it's quick because it's like, tell the landlord 30 days notice, whatever, we're month to month, great, blah, 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 done. But when you own, now there's this leash that's attached to you, right? And it's like, well, how fast can I do this? Am I going to get rinsed if it's too fast? And with commercial, and again, like this is another factor of it is like there's all this commercial land that's open in Toronto now. Like no offices are occupied.
But it's kind of scary because even if you're buying commercial, I think commercial's super sexy too, just because I want like a Rob Dyrdek Fantasy Factory type situation going on that I can shoot podcasts.
Get our own
in.
like
it's all
motorcycle
we
garage.
got to hear. Really.
But I don't know if I want to own anything, and not to get political, but with the landscape of what's going on here economically, with the landscape of what's going on here infrastructure wise, with healthcare, education, all of the systems and what we are seeing happen from, a city that doesn't value economic literacy, as far as I can tell, and business building. Like, is any entrepreneur here knows how difficult it can be. It's like, do I want to own a piece of property in a place that is like that, whether I'm living in it or operating a business in it or otherwise, when, to your point, I can pay the rent and TMI every month or whatever it might be. And God forbid I got to move to the Cayman Islands for whatever reason, hopefully, you know what I mean?
Fingers crossed.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like the back door right now is more valuable.
Yeah. So I mean, look, and I agree, and I've thought a lot about that, and I've been asked that question numerous times over the years. Look, I'm an eternal optimist to a fault sometimes, and I think that there will be a time, and I think maybe we're early days of that, where Canada will go through a renaissance period, and we will start to extract, And listen, I'm not like a crazy environmentalist or anything like that, but yeah, like if we actually take the crude oil out, okay, well, it's really hard. It's gonna pollute. Okay, well then why don't we develop new technology to do that? Like there's all these businesses that could be built around the this like commodity extraction and like natural resource extraction. I think that whether it's 3, 5, or 10 or 15 years from now, Canada will something's going to click here, and the switch is going to get turned on, and I'm just crossing my fingers for that too. And if it doesn't, I'll see you in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, we will. It's
Dude,
great. down here.
even manufacturing our own oil. You know what I mean? Like being able to do any of that stuff to me is like, oh, that's the simplest way.
It's a no-brainer.
We don't have
why
a
has every Canadian thought of it, but like we can't seem to get it done in government, right?
We don't have a choice though. Like, and that, or it's going to be dark. Like that it's one or the other.
Yeah.
Because like the thing with those types of jobs where we're extracting, manufacturing, or what have you, like AI is not going to replace that. This is going to, we can, build work infrastructure. And this is the confusion that I have as a latent idiot that doesn't really understand economics on a political or world scale. Like, why is this not the single most important thing, every single dollar that we have in our government going towards trying to put this developmental infrastructure in place? I don't understand.
It's like lumber, man. Like all that stuff. Like all of our like Canada is resource rich.
Do you know why?
Extremely, like the most resource rich country in the world by far.
What is your hypothesis?
I think that I think someone needs to get into office, and I think it's going to be after a lot of the boomers and after the wealth transfer and the space transfer and all that kind of stuff has happened. And I think that there will be a lot of effort put into some of the stuff that we're talking about right now with lumber, with water, with oil, with potash, with uranium, with gold, with diamonds, with copper. Like the list is literally ridiculous, and we are number 1 to like number 5 on almost all of those precious metals and that kind of stuff. it's literally right there in front of us. I don't know why we're not doing something with it, but that will have to change at some point.
Do you think people know that? Like, do you think the average person knows how resource
Probably
rich we
not.
are?
Probably. I think if you're like, yeah, maybe trees and water kind of thing, but like that's only scratching the surface, right? It's the less known stuff, like the nickel and the mining stuff and the potash and how important some of this stuff is for chips and for cell phones and all this other stuff that, again, like upstream from the stuff that we have in the ground here. That's what like Palantir is using some of that stuff to build these like, weapons and systems. Like we could be and should be producing 100x what we're doing right now, and we still wouldn't be even scratching the surface.
Well, wasn't Sudbury at one point supposed to be a massive mecca because of all it's nickel that's there,
Yeah.
right?
So and it was Sudbury had its heyday, and for one stupid reason or another, right? Like a lot of that has fallen off, and the mining industry. Like so my family's got a cottage on the Manitoulin Island, so I've spent a lot of time in Sudbury. We used to own some property up there with some of my partners, and Sudbury's a great spot, but you can tell that it's that part of the heyday has kind of come and gone. Like my great grandfather worked mines in Sudbury, and made a great reasonable living back then doing it, but you just don't see that anymore. And I also think that goes back to, okay, well, who's actually going to work those jobs, right? Like we're not, no one's training to go do that. No, Gen Z's, it's crazy. If you look at what Gen Z's want to be, it's like the top 10 things. Most of them are like within social media or creator or famous or musician or some shit like that. It's like no one wants to actually go and whatever. Like, I mean, do whatever you want, right? But like, no one wants to go and like build stuff anymore. I mean, and another piece on that is, the silver tsunami, which is a kind of a moniker for the massive amount of retirement we're going to see in skilled trades. Like we're seeing like, it's like 40 to 50% of skilled trades retiring in the next 5 or 10 years. Where's the backfill for that? Right? There's not a bunch of young kids, young men mostly don't want to go in the trades because it's not sexy. They either want to put a suit and go work in, an office tower, or they want to fucking Twitch stream or something. I don't know what it is, but like, and the crazy thing is most of the guys that I know that got into the trades early, they're all super rich.
They're
now.
doing so well.
It's so
funny. While you were speaking on that, I was thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, every guy I went to high school with whose dad was a plumber or an electrician or whatever that rolled right into the trade, like they have super, super awesome lives.
Oh yeah.
Like
great
houses, kids.
Yeah, great houses, kids, cottages, all the toys. Everyone goes in like, I don't want to work with my hands. It's dangerous. Okay. Yeah. Well, you're going to have to work with your hands. You're going to get dirty. And it can be like, being an electrician is a little more dangerous than being, working at Starbucks or Twitch streaming or whatever the hell it is. But at the same time, that life that everyone's chasing is right there. It's just hard work for a couple of years.
And we as humans are going to have to make a decision, like collectively or independently, on what type of life do we want to live. Do you want to live your life in a VR bubble, or like, do you want to be you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because
Here's the other thing is that VR bubble is not going to exist if there's no electricity.
Yeah.
So you need an electrician to do that shit.
We're talking real dystopian now.
Yeah, this is some Black Mirror stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one thing that, I'm going to sound so old here, 35 going on 70, but it's like, I'm a dues paid guy. I've always been, growing up fighting and being a carpenter for many years. And the hard shit is what makes it fun. I think looking at those trades now, though, is they're very selfless. Like nobody appreciates them anymore.
No, man, so true.
Like I remember when I was growing up, the wood shop, Mrs. Schleifer, she was like the sweetest lady, best teacher ever, but she made the trades seem like royalty because she's lifting us up in the program as like, you guys are the ones that are going to build everything. And the people that you build that for are going to appreciate you. And, I worked 5 years as a carpenter, and it was actually in film. So it's like good enough carpentry. So it's not even like finish work or anything like that. But it's one of those things that like you see it firsthand. You know, you just become a peon. You become this person that is taken for granted because it's like, oh, he's just a carpenter. Yeah, he can build that. Yeah, he can build that. And so to your point with the trades, it's like, what's making it sexy for these people? You know?
Yeah. I mean, sexy's one thing, but just like, hey, we're going to need this. You know what I mean? Like it's mandatory, like, well, not mandatory, but you're going to be filling something that's going to be greatly needed and basic.
And hopefully rewarded for. I think that's the big thing.
I mean, you're financially, like what, like, you know what I mean? Like, and in a world where, I don't know, like the starting position at some place is like $18 or like, you know, you're making 60 grand a year and like, and you know, what you're making every year after. Like, I just never wanted to live like that. And I think what the trades do is they give you a clear path to success and a clear path to making more and more money. And they turn a lot of what would be normal people into entrepreneurs and business owners.
Yeah. And not looking at a computer all day.
And you know, I see, it's so funny. I see like I wake up, I check mini screen, then I spend all day on medium screen, and I deserve a big screen at the end of the day kind of thing. It's like, well, fuck, get out into the world.
This is where our generation is at such like an interesting middle time where it's like we came up with little to no technology on a daily basis. No computer phone. Yep. Computer phone? Are you crazy? We're T9
no cell
text.
phones. When I got my first cell phone in grade 9.
Yeah.
I got my first one. I got Motorola Razor.
Motorola Razor.
Really? I was I had my dad's
still
old,
a feat of design, the beauty of that phone.
Dude,
love that.
I had the old Nokia brick blue indestructible phone.
Like the classic looking cell phone.
Yeah, that's what I had. And I mean, fuck, I remember we used to have to be back when the lamppost went.
So imagine though.
Yes. Yeah,
You know
like
what I
actually
mean?
playing street hockey.
Yeah.
And
knocking on people's doors. Remember calling the house phone of a girl you like to be like,
dude, my mom being like, hey, Brooke's on the phone again. Like, hang up, your father's waiting for a call.
How about how trivial this sounds? Remembering a phone number.
Yeah.
Bro, I couldn't tell you one phone number right now, but I could tell you my childhood house line, like my home phone line.
Dude, I
remember
could
my
tell you
home
my
phone
best
lines.
friend when I was a kid. Still.
Yeah.
Really, eh?
Oh, dude, I dialed that phone number 6 times a day. Let's go ride our skateboards.
I know I know my first phone number, and I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like, you had a number.
I've got my own phone number now.
Yeah. But this is okay. So imagine now, like, you're in a generation where having a computer in your pocket is synonymous with daily life. You think you're going to want to go out and cut wood with a saw, and like, you're like, I can look at
a guy doing that. Yeah, like, why would I need to go do it? I know what this guy does.
Yeah.
I think that goes to like,
But doing guy
shit as well.
Building
stuff makes you feel good as a
100%.
person, but I think like in our nature as a man,
Go dig a hole.
dude,
Go
building
chop down
shit.
a tree. Like, literally.
any type of like creation manifestation where it's like you're using your hands to get to an ends of any
Dude,
type.
building a fire.
Tend to the garden you
So,
keep, man.
Yeah.
Tend to the garden you keep. Whatever you can do to, even just like taking care of your place. Like, this is the thing with property ownership. It's like, you own a place, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to make sure that the driveway is, shoveled. I'm going to make sure that the steps are swept. Like, there is a sense of ownership there that I think is beautiful. And this is the thing with the pendulum of technology swinging. We're losing touch with some of these real life moments, like humanity driving
Feelings,
the
bro.
simple things
It's
or
that
the complex
feeling,
things. But
like the feeling of doing that shit is the best. Like even shoveling outside the gym.
Yeah.
First thing in the morning, you wake up, it's cold as hell. The last thing I want to do is shovel, but you're shoveling and it's really nice because people go, yo, thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's rewarding.
That
I've been doing that
manual
since
labor.
I was 5 years old and I actually enjoy it all the time. And so, it's things like that I think those little thank yous make it worth it. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, and I think, again, I'm scared that you guys are right. Like, that might be a bit of a lost art. Now, I don't have TikTok. I don't really follow much Gen Z stuff, but I do, from what I understand, there is kind of the pendulum is swinging back, and there is like this at least proponent or cohort of that generation that is pushing back against technology and kind of going back to more of that trad or traditional shit or whatever they're calling it kind of thing. So, it's tough. It's tough to see where things are going. But I do think that the pendulum has got to swing back the right way for Canada. Or we're just, fast tracking our way to becoming a third world country, to be honest.
Well, there's just got to be a course correct. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, like what you're seeing happening in the States, the course correction is so violent because it swung so far one way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit scary, but you know, it is what it is. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I like your be an optimist, and I do think it does start with an economically motivated leadership. I think that it does start there, but I do think, you know, technology has come up and all the other things, the growth of everything has come up. I do believe that when the pendulum swings back, a lot of the things that maybe we lost touch with will become very, very valuable again. And just this, like talking to people, articulating ideas, like I think is so incredibly important. And crafts, trades, building stuff, you know, traits that I think have maybe just got lost in the mix of like, oh yeah, I would like look at a screen all day, or I'm going to stream on Twitch. It's like, there's a rewarding element of real life shit that I hope
100%.
I think we take it
I
for
completely
granted.
agree.
not to go on a spiel there, but
So
Not a good spiel.
For you, what, like getting back to the real estate side of things. So you're on the mortgage side, you're on the investment side. So for you, if you were to give someone like myself or Connor, who's now on this, like we're like right on the step of like, okay, what
are we doing
Do we
here?
do this?
Yeah.
Is there like 5 things, like a very basic checklist? It's like, obviously we know our income. Obviously we know what we have as a down payment or can qualify for. But like, is there things that for the dummy like us, or myself especially, is there 5 things that you're like, absolutely do this, absolutely do this, absolutely do this, that make it a little more simple?
In regards to just buying a property or any property, or figuring out what type of property to buy?
Starting
kind
from
of thing?
scratch.
Starting
So
from
it's
scratch.
like
Okay, yeah.
we're looking in the market, we're ready to go.
The first thing is education, always. Okay, so you know, there's a great podcast out there with hundreds of episodes that talks about all this shit.
What's it called?
A little bit of a plug, Canadian Real Estate Investor Podcast. Go check it out.
Perfect.
And that's literally why we built that out, is because I got sick and tired of answering the same questions,
all the ones that you just
and
answered,
again and again and again, and but like even more basic stuff, right? So, you know, that we built out this to educate people on making what is arguably for most people the biggest financial decision of their life, right?
Sure.
And I'm not even going to give you 5. I'm literally going to make it even simpler. Educate the shit out of yourself. Find that power team. No matter, depends on what you want to do. You are going to need a real estate agent and a mortgage broker and a lawyer. Okay. Now, as you get bigger and more complicated, you're going to need an appraiser, an inspector, a quantity surveyor, a contractor, whole list of sub trades, all this other stuff. But that core power team can be pretty simple.
Okay.
And they should be doing most of the work for you. If you just want to be kind of, you know, a citizen that owns real estate, not be a real estate investor or a business owner or own a warehouse or whatever it is, if you're literally just trying to buy a home, you don't need to concern yourself with the 1,000,001 variables and details that are happening, and all the shit that I talk about all the time. That's not for you. You literally are just going to buy a home. So try to make it the best process possible. And you're going to be doing that by educating yourself to a certain extent and getting good people around you. Those are the only 2 things you really need to do. I can give you a laundry list of things you need to do if you are trying to become a real estate investor, or if you're trying to become a real estate professional of some kind. You know, I would add networking, right? Getting in part of networks, doing what we just said, getting out and having real conversations with real people in real life. And you know, as a lifelong entrepreneur for myself, I'm never the smartest guy in any room, and I'm happy about that. I always seek smarter people, and I always seek out mentorship. And you're not going to go far in real estate alone. It is a team sport. You need multiple different people to help you, and you're going to find those people out there networking with intention and building that power team. So, you know, it just depends on how far down that road you want to go. But if you are literally just a person trying to buy a house, keep it simple. That's it.
incredible advice just for building businesses and so forth. Thank you so much for all of the knowledge and information. I think there's a lot of people out there who will benefit from it. It can be incredibly disillusioning to try to make these decisions. So getting some clarity from someone like yourself who understands it so well, go check out the Canadian Real Estate Investor Podcast. My man, Nick, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks,
man.
boys.
I appreciate
That was
it.
amazing.
Yeah,
So good.
that was good for us just to learn.
Man, I just felt like a sponge. Like I'm like, I gotta, well, it's like you said, educate yourself. Like I'm definitely not smart in this stuff. So to have someone like you to be able to say,
And maybe
this is
we'll
what's up.
have another conversation off the mics to get a sense of what our steps should be, because like I mean
how to make billions.
make us
If I knew that, I wouldn't be here, boys. If I knew that, I wouldn't be here. Yeah, thanks.
That was
guys.
good, man.